Think for a moment maybe about the weights you carry. Those burdens from the past that still feel, well, still feel present. Is it truly possible, do you think, to find freedom from them? Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're exploring the really profound idea of grace and its potential to address those deep-seated feelings of guilt and shame too, offering a real path toward redemption.
It's something most people grapple with, isn't it? That feeling, that sense that our past can, hold us down, shape our present in ways we don't always choose.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to look into today. Our aim really is to understand how this concept of grace offers a different lens, a different way to view our past and fundamentally who we are.
Yeah, and there's a powerful idea that speaks right to this. It's the notion that where sin increased, grace increased all the more.
Mm.
It suggests that grace isn't some limited resource. It's something abundant, something that meets and even, well, exceeds our failings.
Okay. Let's talk about those failings then, what they often feel like. We talk about guilt, right? That sort of internal nudge or sometimes, yeah, heavyweight, tied to specific things we've actually done.
Precisely. Guilt often centers on the action itself. It's that voice inside saying, you did this wrong thing. Shame, though. Shame usually goes deeper. It tends to attack our sense of self-worth. It whispers things like, because you did this, you are flawed. Or
Mhm.
even, you're unworthy of love.
That's a really significant difference, isn't it?
Mhm.
Wow. So how does grace, how does it intersect with these really powerful, sometimes overwhelming emotions?
Well, grace offers a different story, a counter-narrative maybe. It suggests that the mistakes we've made and those feelings of unworthiness we carry, they don't have to be the final word. It opens up the possibility, the real possibility of being freed from that heavy burden. And what's compelling is just the sheer scope of this idea that no mistake, no misstep is beyond the reach of mercy.
Hmm. It almost sounds, well, frankly, a bit too good to be true sometimes. Does this mean our past actions are just sort of excused, wiped away like they never happened?
Ah, that's a really key point to understand. No, grace doesn't typically mean erasing the past or pretending it didn't occur, and it doesn't necessarily mean avoiding all the consequences either. Instead, it's more about transforming our relationship to that past and how it defines us moving forward. Think of it less like wiping a slate clean and maybe more like rewriting the narrative that's on the slate.
Okay, rewriting the narrative. I like
Yeah.
that. So if our past mistakes don't define us, what does, according to this idea?
Grace offers a powerful redefinition. It basically says, you are more than what you've done. You are who you are understood to be. It shifts the focus, you see, away from our imperfections and towards a deeper, perhaps inherent identity, one rooted in acceptance, maybe even love. It really makes you wonder how this actually plays out in people's real lives.
Yeah, it does. And we actually have a pretty compelling real-world example from Colombia around 2025. It's about a woman who had been in prison because of choices she'd made in her past. But she shared something really powerful after her release.
Yes, I remember reading about that. What's so impactful is what she said, wasn't it? Something like, my past wasn't erased, it was redeemed. What? It wasn't about pretending those things didn't happen. It was about finding a new meaning, a new purpose in light of them.
Exactly. And her story didn't just end with her release. She's now using her own experiences, her own journey, to help other women through faith-based counseling. It's such a tangible illustration of how a really painful past can be transformed somehow into a source of healing and support for others.
It really is. It shows how grace can take something that felt broken and, well, use it for good. There's another example, kind of similar in theme, though maybe on a smaller scale. From a college in Michigan around the same time period, they created something called a grace wall.
A grace wall. That sounds interesting. Tell me more about that. What was it?
Well, it was a pretty simple idea, actually, set up within a dorm, I believe. Students could anonymously write down things they felt guilty or ashamed about, burdens they were carrying. And then other students could respond, also anonymously, with messages of encouragement, support, maybe even grace. It created this unique little space for vulnerability and for the experience of receiving grace, even from strangers.
Wow. And wasn't there one specific anonymous message that really stood out?
Yes, exactly. Someone wrote something like, I thought I'd never be free from my mistakes, but grace met me here. Just that raw honesty, it really captures that feeling. Encountering grace right in the middle of a personal struggle, it underscores that grace isn't just some abstract theological concept. It can be a very real, very personal experience.
Hmm. So, okay, in a practical sense then, how can someone actually experience this kind of freeing grace? What does that look like day to day?
The idea is often presented as, well, the ability to consciously acknowledge those burdens first, guilt, shame, whatever they are, and then to actively choose to release them, to decide to move forward unburdened by them. It's about recognizing what weighs us down and then intentionally deciding to lay it aside at the feet of Jesus, as the language often goes.
It sounds like that first step you mentioned, just acknowledging what we're carrying,
Yeah.
that's really key, isn't it? It kind of brings us full circle back to that initial question we started with.
Precisely. Yeah. The reflection that's often suggested encourages us to really consider what guilt or what shame do we need to release so that we can live more fully, more freely. That act of identifying it, naming it, and then choosing to let it go, that seems to be the crucial starting point for experiencing this transformative grace.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, the central idea, the core message, seems to be that grace offers this powerful pathway, a pathway to true freedom. Freedom from being defined solely by our past mistakes. Freedom from those heavy feelings of unworthiness.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our history doesn't have to be our prison. It just doesn't. Grace, this concept suggests, provides a way to unlock those doors and to step into a future that's shaped not just by what we've done, but by a deeper understanding of who we are and who we can become.
So let's return just for a moment to that initial thought we began with. Consider again the burdens you carry, those weights from the past that still feel heavy. What might it look like for you? What might it actually look like? To surrender those and walk forward in freedom. It's definitely a question to carry with you.